Welcome and shalom to all those who I have met in person and virtually, and welcome to those that I have yet had the privilege to meet. My name is Jeremy Weiss, and I'm a director at the International Relations Division at Yad Vashem. Yad Vashem archives over 270 million unique pages of documents. The newly pre-recorded lecture you will be viewing shortly is titled Rare Documents from Yad Vashem's Archives, and offers a look at two unique documents. One is a story of a document belonging to Rudolf Hess, the commander of Auschwitz-Birkenau, and is a book, or a guest book, that belonged to him, signed by visitors that came to Hess's family home on the premises of the camp. The book brings into focus the contrast of everyday life at the Hess's home, while an evil and brutal reality was taking place just beyond its doors on the other side of the fence. The second is a totally different story. Very, very different type. It is a story of resilience, a story of strength, of human and Jewish spirit. Of Rosh Hashanah prayer book written by hand on a scrap of a paper sack, and with a pencil that Naftali Stern purchased with his daily, very liminal, daily ration of bread. I would like to introduce you to my dear friend and colleague, Bettina Malka Engelbusch, director at Yad Vashem's archive, to give you this very special and unique lecture. Thank you very much for joining, and all the very, very best.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Yad Vashem. My name is Bettina, and I work at the Yad Vashem archives. And what you see here behind me is actually the storage of the archives. You can see cupboard, closets, and drawers where we keep our original documents. As you might know, Yad Vashem, as the National Holocaust Memorial in Israel, has the worldwide largest collection of documents, photos, and artifacts from the time of the Holocaust. Yad Vashem not only collects items and documentation concerning the victims, but also about the perpetrators. And I would like to introduce to you today two very important and significant documents that we have here in our archives that tell us a lot about what actually happened in the Holocaust on the different sides. The first item that I want to show to you is the guest book of Rudolf Hess, who was the commander of the Auschwitz-Birkenau extermination camp. Hess made a very swift career in the Nazi party. He joined in 1922 at the age of 21. In 1933 he joined the SS, and then he was for several years stationed in the concentration camp Dachau in Germany. And in 1940 he was sent to Auschwitz, and in March 1941 he was entrusted by SS and police chief Heinrich Himmler to establish the extermination complex in Auschwitz-Birkenau. During his time in Auschwitz, between the end of 1941 and January 1945, approximately 1.5 million Jews were murdered in Auschwitz, along with thousands and thousands of political prisoners, of Sinti and Roma, homosexuals, etc. Hess managed to flee after the war and to hide, but in 1946 he was discovered by the British and he was arrested by a British officer. And one of the things that were taken from Hess on his arrest was this guest book that he had kept during his time at Auschwitz. Hess and his family lived on the premises of Auschwitz-Birkenau, of the Auschwitz-Birkenau extermination camp. The camp was here, the villa was adjacent to the camp, only separated by a wall, so that you could actually see, hear, and also smell what was going on in the camp from the place where the villa was. And despite of what was happening in the camp, Hess led a pretty normal family life with his family, with his wife and children in the villa. he had guests, they had celebrations, they went hunting, and some of his guests wrote dedications into this guest book. And I just want to read out to you. I want to show you how it looks, and then I want to read to you 2 of the dedications in order to show the spirit of these people that visited Höss in his family home in Auschwitz. The first is this quotation here on the left page. In that entry it says, en route to the south of Russia in my capacity as chief physician of the SS military hospitals, I had the privilege of spending a few hours of rest and relaxation in long-standing and jolly comradeship. For this I thank you, Mummy Höss. Höss's wife was referring to Höss's wife. And Rudolf, I wish you continued successes like this. He was referring to Auschwitz, of course. Good health to you all, good luck and satisfaction. Blessed is what steals us. On those 2 days that this entry was made, on the 20th and 21st of September in 1942, 2 things happened, 2 significant things happened. On the 20th, 2 transports arrived to Auschwitz, one from Westerbork in Holland and one from Drancy in France. Both were transit camps where the Jews in Western Europe were first collected in transit camps and then transferred to the extermination centers in the East. Both trains had on board approximately 1,000 Jews. Approximately 350 of those people were admitted to the labor camp. They were forced, but at the selection, they were forced to do labor in Auschwitz. And the remaining 1,650 persons were killed on the same day in the gas chambers at Auschwitz. The second entry that I would like to show you is from the 6th of January 1945. So only 3 weeks before the liberation of Auschwitz, when it was already clear that Höss wouldn't be staying in Auschwitz much longer. And a good friend of his wrote into the guest book, in blissful memory of the old times and to even more beautiful experiences at the new location. So it was clear that Höss was going to be moved to a different location. From the necessity of Auschwitz, we derive the pleasantness and comfort of Oranienburg and Ravensbrück. On that day, on the 6th of January 1945, 4 women, of course apart from other murders that took place on the same day, 4 women were executed in the camp for taking part in the uprising of the Sonderkommando in October 1944. The Sonderkommando was a special squad of Jewish prisoners who were responsible for accompanying the Jewish victims into the gas chambers and also of taking care of the bodies after they were murdered. Those 4 women worked at a metal plant that was producing ammunition for the German forces, and over a few months they had smuggled small amounts of explosives every day from the factory to the camp. And in the end, those explosives were used by the Sonderkommando members during the uprising to blow up one of the crematoria in Auschwitz. Most of the participants in the uprising were killed, of course. Some were arrested and were tortured. And one of the persons who were tortured gave away the names of those 4 women, and so they were executed for high treason on the 6th of January 1945. This juxtaposition of this guest book, which reflects a normal, joyful family life in the Höss Villa, which was right next to the extermination camp, and the events in the camp that I just described to you, show us the brutality and the barbarianism of the Nazi machine, of the Nazi perpetrators, and also the sense of the fact that they were so totally convinced that what they did was the right thing, that they didn't even have any concern for the victims or they didn't even think of what was happening to them. Now, the Nazis did not only want to annihilate the Jews physically, they also wanted to extinguish the Jewish faith, tradition, culture, the Jewish spirit, because they had understood that what had kept the Jews going over centuries of persecution, of isolation, was this spirit, this adherence to that tradition. And so they wanted to wipe that out too. And we have many examples of synagogues that were destroyed, of ritual objects that were desecrated, Torah scrolls and other things. And also there was a prohibition of performing Jewish rituals in ghettos and in concentration camps. People were not allowed to gather to pray. People were not allowed to circumcise their children. They were not allowed kosher slaughtering, etc., etc. At one point in the labor camp of Wolfsberg, which was a subcamp of the concentration camp Groß Rosen in the then occupied Czechoslovakia, they made an exception and they allowed the Jewish prisoners to hold a New Year's Rosh Hashanah service in September 1944. And the person who was supposed to lead the service was a rabbi from the Satmar community, Naftali Herz, who was a rabbi who had been in his former life rabbi and cantor. And he was supposed to lead the service, and because of the situation and of this special moment, he thought that he had to, even though he knew the service by heart, he preferred to write the most important portions down on paper. Where do you get paper from? So what he did was he exchanged his daily bread ration for a piece of paper bag where they had kept cement and a small piece of pencil. And he wrote down the most important passages of the New Year's prayer, of the New Year's liturgy, on these paper pieces. You can see here on the left side, if you're familiar with the liturgy of Rosh Hashanah, you will know the prayer that is called Unetane Tokef. And you have here the beginning of this prayer. And here on the other side, you can see that he wrote down names of people from his community who were murdered at Auschwitz. This was a very, very meaningful moment for him, and he actually risked his life in obtaining these paper bits and the pencil. And after this New Year's liturgy, he kept this, what we today call the Wolfsberg Machzor. He hid it on his body, inside his clothes, until his liberation. And he actually managed to get away without it being detected, because it could have, of course, cost him his life. After liberation, he took the Machzor with him. He later came to Israel. And every year on Rosh Hashanah, he used the Machzor in the synagogue for the New Year's service that he led every year in his congregation. In 1988, he gave a testimony to Yad Vashem, and on the occasion of the testimony, he also donated this Machzor to the Yad Vashem archives. When he passed it on to the archives, he said that for him a circle had closed, because he had written this document at one of the most desperate points in his life. And now he handed it over to the institution that was commemorating the victims of the Holocaust. The only request he had was to take it out every year for the Rosh Hashanah services, so Yad Vashem would lend it to him for the period of the service, of the holiday, and then he would give it back to the archives. Unfortunately, Naftali Herz died 10 months after he handed it over to the Yad Vashem archives, and just 1 month before the next Rosh Hashanah. So we did not have the chance to lend it to him. But in my opinion, this Machzor, this Wolfsberg Machzor, is one of the most touching and significant documents that we have in our archives.
Thank you for attending this lecture, Rare Documents of Yad Vashem's Archives. I hope you've learned and enjoyed it. Please share it with your friends and family, and I hope to see you in our next online lecture in the very near future. All the very best.